the subcompact SUV category keeps on getting better and tighter every single day. I told you this is the most competitive segment in the Kenyan market space right now because you guys are young, you guys are energetic, and you guys are making proper choices. Now, every time I sit down with my team and decide to bring you a review of a subcompact SUV, it gets interesting because every automaker is trying to outdo the other in 1, 2, or 3 other things. And this time we have an interesting car because this is the last final edition of the Audi Q3. S-Line to be specific. And let me tell you, Maina, while everybody else was working around other things, all the way from the Vezel, the Escudo, and you've just had the T-Cross as well, which is a sister brother to this particular car, even though this one is geared differently, it's planned differently, deliberately by Audi and VW Group. So let's get down into business. At this point, I'll ask you to subscribe, leave me a comment, give me a like, and let's get into the business of understanding why you need to leave all the other subcompact SUV and give this car a shot. As always, this car has been given to us courtesy of KDG Imports pale Ngong Road opposite Prestige. Tafuta huyu jamaa na smile hapa, anaitwa Ibra. Atakupatia all the awesome deals. And they have a variety of cars, so don't feel afraid to visit them because they can cater for your needs across the entire band. Cheap, affordable, too expensive. It is your choice. And let's get into this review of the Q3. Kwanza, I'll take you back. This is the first gen Q3. And I know in 2018, there is so much that has happened across the entire segment. If you talk about the X1, if you talk about the GLA, if you're talking about the XC40, you know, there are a lot of upgrades, changes and design. You know, people have launched newer cars, but this Audi had to keep until 2018. But it didn't stay like this forever because while other people are doing changes, Audi felt the need to do a bit of an improvement. And that's why they brought out this particular one. So if you're buying this car from the Japanese market, I need you to understand that you can only get the S-Line from 2017 all the way to 2018. So those are 2 years because the S-Line was brought in as a reaction to what the other automakers were doing. You know, the GLA, the XC40 and all the X1, BMW of course. This was a reaction to them. So what you get is a bit of premium. Something else that I need to underscore is if you're buying this car from Japan, there's a lot of differences in consideration if you buy the same car from the European market. Okay, so Japan favors smaller engines, and unlike the normal thing that they will tell you that ukinunua gari kutoka UK ama Singapore itakuwa na premium features. Actually on the Audi Q3 it is the exact opposite. You get the premium units from Japan because apparently studies have shown that over time the Japanese market has embraced luxury and premiumness. So huko pia unapata very nicely spec'd unit. So you don't need to really look at UK and the other markets to get a premium unit. The Japanese market has also evolved in terms of taste and preferences. So what do we get when you buy a 2018 Audi Q3? This is a facelift edition from 2016 all the way to 2018, but it was made slightly better from 2017-2018 by bringing in the S-Line. Believe me when I say the 2019 models look absolutely stunning and awesome. And if you can take a chance to import one through Auto Select by Conversation, you might get yourself a killer deal. I'll talk to you about that towards the end of this video. But first, how does this car look? Now, I told you 2017-2018, there was a bit of an improvement, more of a refresh to just make it more interesting for buyers in that category because the other guys were bringing out awesome cars like the XC40. And we'll talk about that car. If you have that car, please reach out. What do you get? You get your traditional hexagonal design of the Audi grille with the 4 rings in case you're planning to marry 4 wives or a husband or date 4 girlfriends or boyfriends. I don't know. Or just have 4 cows. So let's keep it like that. Which is active, meaning air can go in and cool your engine, your radiator, and all the intercoolers that you need to make your engine run proper because you have a very proper, powerful engine under the hood. Then you don't get any active vents on the side. neither on this side because, you know, your intercoolers are not there. But if you get the RS version, because there's an RS version on this, which comes with a 5-cylinder turbocharged engine, the same you get on the TTRS, then this will be active, and it has a sumptuous active and sporty look at the front as well. But this is what you get. Traditional Audi, this is what you get across the entire lineup. If you're buying the Q2, if you're buying the Q5, you know, they all look the same, right? Let's talk about the side profile. What do you get if you got the side profile? There's also a slight difference in terms of how this car looks in comparison to the other lineups on the Audi lineup. And that is down to the size and the subcompact level that this car sits in. But what you get here, more interesting stuff. I told you this is an S-line. So being an S-line, it means there are a few things that have been tweaked to make this car more interesting. And one of them being the wheels. So you get size 18, even though you can also get with size 19. Wheel size, wheel profile affects fuel economy and handling. Handling on the good side, fuel economy on the other side. Hapo tuko sawa. So wale watu kuweka miguu kubwa kwa gari, I need you to know, the bigger the tires, the huge the drag and the negative on your fuel. That is like scientifically proven, right? But the good thing is, if you have bigger tires and bigger profiles, the car handles better and launches better because the contact of the tire and the tarmac is bigger. Perfect. Very nice. So what do you get? Disc at the front, disc at the rear. You get 4-port and 2-port at the rear. Let me make you laugh. If you bought a Volvo XC40, you're getting 8.3 inches of ground clearance. Yeah. This 6.7. But from the looks, it's decent. You get better tires, or you get bigger profiles of the tires. Of course, it'll have an effect on the ground clearance. But what you get here is 6.7, which is decent and good. Then you get your McPherson strut hapa mbele. And one differentiating factor that we've had as an argument on this channel, we had it when we did the CX-30, we had it when we did the Escudo, we had it when we did the Vezel as well, is the suspension setup at the rear. Even the T-Cross, because the T-Cross had a solid rear beam. But this one you get independent suspension at the rear, multi-link, which makes this car awesome and handles better. Now, the side profile or the rear profile is quite interesting and easy again. Conservative Audi design, you get your LED rear taillights, which are sequential, meaning zinaenda namna hiyo, ukiweka indicators zinaenda namna hiyo. And you have your TFSI, meaning these are turbocharged engine that is running this car. Then you have your Quattro badge and you have your Q3 badge. Now, let's talk about the Quattro. Normally when you're buying an Audi, you get a Quattro system, which is an AWD system that is capable for handling and even tackling, you know, a bit of challenging areas. But the Quattro that you get here is what we refer to as Quattro Ultra. Okay, it's not your Quattro. They just didn't put the car badging there. And what does Quattro Ultra mean? It means this car is front wheel biased and it only kicks in the rear when it feels the need or when the rear loses traction. And you'll see that when you open the hood and see how the engine setup has also been changed. And like many Audis that we know, the engine setup at the front is slightly different. But let's talk about practicality, because that is the most important thing. Now, this is where the Audi Q3 wins. This car has, wait for it, 550 liters of practical boot space. Sasa kama Escudo na Vezel zinakupatia 370 ama 380. Si unaona hapa ndo penye gari inashinda. So this is where this car is actually the leading in terms of boot space. It has better boot space than the GLA. It has better boot space than even the XC40. It has better boot space than the X1. That's how interesting this car is. Even though the X1 has a trick up its sleeves. If you move the second row of seat, which this one also moves, if you move the seat because you can actually adjust it mbele na nyuma, then you also get a slightly more practical boot space. But the X1 wins when you move the seats. Sawa sawa. Let me drop these seats down because this is apparently an idea that you guys need to impress so that we can get to see. And the seats split at, let me remove this one. These guys keep on wanawekanga hizi vitu zao hapo. Wewe Fabian. But you can see the struggle, right? So it has a boot lip, meaning you know, putting things out is slightly tricky. But you can tell that seat pale, it has like a piece here that breaks. This is a plastic. Let me just remove it again. It doesn't go all the way flat. It leaves a slumpy region pale mbele on the rear, on the second row of seats, which I feel will take away a bit of practical boot space, right? So if you get them flat, better. But the good thing is you can actually move these seats mbele na nyuma so that you get extra space. Now, talking about practicality and owning an SUV is the fact that hapa chini, oh, the Japanese spec doesn't come with a spare wheel, but the European spec does, even though there's a space provision for you to put a space saver spare wheel, kale ka donut, so it can actually fit in. You can also detach this one in case you want to load up your bigger luggages. You don't get an electronic tailgate. Yeah. Let's talk about what is under the hood of the Q3 and just appreciate the uniqueness of the setup and how it translates down to the drivability of the Q3 in comparison to all those cars in that segment. The place that this particular Q3 starts to depart confidently without blinking an eye in terms of performance and what it offers to you as a buyer is what is under the hood of this car. Before I talk about this, let me give you a breakdown. If you're buying this car from Japan, mostly, and I say mostly because Japan favors cars that have smaller engine displacement, both for tax purposes, price and emissions. So mostly you'll get this car with a 1400cc turbocharged petrol engine, which is the EA211, okay? But in case you're like this guy and you find yourself this particular car, which is a 2000cc EA888 turbocharged petrol engine, which employs both direct injection and port injection as well, because this is a Gen 3 EA888 in a 2018 Q3. Hapo tuko sawa, but if you go to, mostly diesels are not common in Japan on this platform, even though you can get them. But if you're buying them from the UK market, then you can get it uniquely in one diesel plant, the 2-liter TDI. Hakuna any other displacement. So that is something that you need to know. However, if you're buying the special types of this car, because we have the RS version, in case you're thinking about extreme performance, then you have a 5-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine. The same engine you'll find on the TTRS. Hapo tuko sawa, and that is when you want power, sporty, and aggressive driving. Okay, let's come back to this. So what is exactly important for you to know about this engine? Problems. Number one is our kawaida. You have your water cooling system, which is the water pump and the plastics that are around the cooling system, which over time, and I need you to underline this, over time, they get brittle, they break, and you need to replace them. So one unique thing that I always tell people who own any Audi or VW is the fact that you need to check those things occasionally. When you feel the pipe is brittle, badilisha. Water pump ni plastic, badilisha. Sawa sawa? Very important for you to keep this car running very nicely. Number two is you need to take care of your timing chain and timing guides, because this is chain driven. So your guides according to the manufacturer recommendation. Because we live in the tropics and our temperatures are different and the things that we put in our car are different, I will recommend 100 to 140,000. Don't go past there. Make sure you do your timing chain or you do your guides as well. But if you're a guy who keeps your car in tip-top condition with very good quality oils and good parts, you can slightly extend there, but it's not recommended. Sawa sawa? If you look at this engine, ultimately you'll notice one thing that is not common when you're buying an Audi, and that thing is this engine is transversely mounted. Most Audis, you'll have them longitudinally mounted, meaning your quattro all-wheel drive system is pushing more from the rear and activating the front when they need be. But on this one, because everybody else, even the X1, switched from a longitudinally mounted X1 to a traditional transversely mounted to save fuel and also just be able to fit in better engines, because transverse allow you to accommodate and manage space better. Hey, tuna flow hapo fiti sana, sindio? Now, what else will I share about this engine that is important? Because being a Gen 3, there's a lot of improvements from the internals, you know, and something unique that is so interesting. Okay, most other cars have it, but it's the fact that the way the turbo is mounted at the rear, and that turbo is very small, by the way. So those guys who say, oh, a bigger turbo on a smaller engine, you know, it is disaster in waiting. The turbo is quite manageable, very manageable in size. But the unique thing is just behind that place that the turbo has been mounted, there is what we call the exhaust manifold. So I need you to pay attention to this. Now, that exhaust manifold is also coolant cooled, meaning water passes through it, and it's connected directly to the cylinder head. And what does that mean? It means, one, your engine warms up faster, because now the coolant gets to be heated as it goes through the manifold. Na exhaust natokea hapo, na exhaust ni moto, inachemsha coolant faster. And when the coolant heats up faster, it means your engine also temperatures will faster. And then it also brings to prime temperature your emission shenanigans, like the catalytic converter, to make sure that what comes out of your exhaust is very good and clean for your everyday breathing. You see there? And number 3, of course, it means even the turbo, the gases that go to the turbo, because you know the turbo is being spooled by gases, the exhaust gases. The hotter the gases, it means the turbo will also heat up faster. It means it will be more inefficient. So the gases that go to the turbo are also cooled, which makes Audi able to push more power. If you buy this, like if you go to an engine code, when you're buying your car and you go to where the logbook is written, there's an engine code there. So best with the engine code that you're buying, because this one will give you 180 HP and 320 Newton meters of torque. But best with the engine code, the same 2 liter can give you upwards of 200 and 350 Newton meters of torque. And that is down to that, because then Audi can be able to tweak the turbo to give you slightly a bigger boost, which translates to more power. Hapo tuko sawa. In terms of fuel, because fuel is a very huge factor. It's recommended that you run high octane fuel on this car to keep it safe, the engine, because it's a high compression engine and premature denotation will happen if you don't pay attention. So premium fuel, that is what is recommended. And number 2 is the delivery of the fuel. As I said earlier, it's port injection to make sure that your carbon buildup stays low, because that is one weakness of the E8888. Carbon buildup on any VW product, especially the engine, is quite higher. So port injection, carbon buildup down, and then you have direct injection just when you need the power. So our pair to this engine is a 7-speed dual clutch transmission that Audi calls the DQ500. And that DQ500 is a wet clutch, meaning you service the wet clutch or the mechatronic unit and make sure the fluid in it is fresh, and to keep it reliable and solid. At the same time, you also service the transmission itself. So if you buy the 1400cc version, you will get it with the D250, the DQ250. Now the DQ250 is also a wet clutch, 7-speed, no, it's 6-speed. Hapo ni maharibu. Sawa, kuna kazi. But if you find yourself looking for a slightly smaller engine and you go for the 1400cc turbocharged petrol engine, then you'll get it with the DQ50. And that one is a 6-speed wet clutch. Wet clutch hapa ni very important, because wet clutch is what is able to make that transmission handle stress and torque and power and how you drive it. So people avoid the dry clutch because they're slightly unreliable if you push them. So if they get hot, they tend to break down. But if you get yourself a wet clutch and service it on time, it means the reliability is top notch. Let's check out the interior of this car and see how does it stand against the other competition. One of the most asked questions that guys give to me all the time we meet is, Ibra, how do we support you and your team to make sure that you guys bring awesome and beautiful content? Honestly, we try to be as much objective and honest as we can and give you palatable and real content that doesn't really lean towards selling anything to you. But what we can actually help you with is if you want to ship in your car from Japan, the UK, or any other market that you guys want to try. Even Australia, we can do that. Hata Dubai siku hizi watu wanaleta magari kutoka huko. So in case you're looking for an awesome car, please, this will be the best way to show support. Away from watching the video, subscribing, na kucheza na pale super chat. By the way, kuna super chat pale. All these things will go quite lengthy in terms of making sure that we keep this content rolling every day, every week, every month, and all the year round. Okay, so in case you're looking for a car to import any type of car, from premium to all the small car that you want to start your life with, make sure you pay a visit pale Waterfront Mall. Tuko na ofisi pale basement 1, a very nice office. I'll offer coffee and lunch for free. Come there, talk to us about your car importation needs, and we'll get you the perfect unit. I have pale niko na Ryan, niko na Alex, and the entire team, and they are willing to give you an awesome partnership in getting you a perfect deal, a perfect car, a perfect price, and the perfect quality as well. Seemingly from the exterior, if you look at the Q3, it looks like it's not manageable in terms of how you feel about the space inside. Surprisingly, it has very good space. Look, you guys have seen me do this on the entire lineup that we brought on this channel. Go check again. Very good and ample leg room. Then I have a very good headroom as well. And there's this design here that have made it possible. Even if you're a tall guy, if you are 6'2", like me, is it always 6'1" or 6'2"? Oh, it's that one. You can actually just look at that. You know, this is proper. Even though I'll tell you for a fact, the XC40 and the X1 have better cabin space. Even though you won't feel it much because the difference is in very small denominations. You know, that 7 inches here, 40 inches there, so a difference of 3 inches. If you're not keen enough, you won't feel it. But you get very premium cloth stroke leather seats, which tuck you in quite well. They just feel premium and good. And then you have your drop-down center console or armrest, which you can put your hands on while you're doing your awesome trips. Then you have your cup holders nicely slipped in at the front. You can put here and there. It's just nice. I like that design. Do I have any storage compartment? Yes. You can store your phones there. And the rest of the other thing, plus you can also drop this one down in case umeenda Kisii umenunua miwa mrefu na unataka kubeba kwa gari. You can also put it there and just enjoy this car. But this car is geared for family people. Subcompact SUVs are always geared down to family people, young. Sometimes even if you don't have your own family, but you have cousins, you have, you know, your bro has daughters or boys you want to drive around and enjoy the car. And so you get ISOFIX points on this seat, and surprisingly, even on the front passenger seat as well, which is dope. I like this more because, you know, you can put there your toddler and you can drive there while you guys are looking at each other, okay? Which is dope. So extras, you don't get any climate controls here, but you get your AC vents and you can open and close them. Then you get your 12-volt socket hapa hivi, which you can adapt and put there your adapter, which can be used to charge your phones or anything that you're carrying. And you have your net-like storage here. You can put your things like a laptop, an iPad, all your stuff when you're doing your long trips. Even though I must agree, you know, the windows feel slightly smaller from what I've had on the T-Cross. I don't know. You guys tell me. Is it better or is it down? Let's check out the front of this car and see. Iko sawa ama pia hapo waliangusha points. Instantly, there are a few things that make the Q3 stand out again, especially when you're sitting at the front seat. And that is down to the seats themselves. Very comfortable. I tend to think this sporty bucket-like feel make this car feel premium. And the leather and the cloth combination makes it much better, especially kama wewe ni mtu wa kusweat hapa nyuma. And it can carry a huge person. And they've made it better because you can actually extend. It has a lap support. So if you're a tall guy or you're a tall girl, you can have that support your knees while you're enjoying the drive of this car. Now, one thing that makes this car slightly feel oldish is the fact that you're running the older school vibe of the Audi MMI, starting with this infotainment screen and down to this old school Audi MMI. Now, it's the same Audi MMI you will get on the newer cars. The only difference is this one is packed here and you get your normal controls, just like what you'll get on that one that is here. Then you get 2 SD card ports and a place where you can put your CD so that you can play the music. And this is what people complain about. And then underneath, you get 2 controls for your dual zone climate controls, both for the passenger and the driver here as well. And then you get your heated seats for me and the heated seats for the passenger as well. And these knobs that you see here, they're just knobs because they're affecting the idea of changing the temperature digitally. So you have to, you know, hold them and then they will change the temperature. So it's not like a physical knob like what you get on a Toyota where you turn the knob. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Sawa. So that's dope. That's beautiful. The design and build quality is premium. This is leather premium. And this is something that I'm surprised with this Q3 because I think from 2017, 2018, before they switched to the 2019 unit, they had to bring in a lot of extras so that they can win you over. So there's a lot of luxury, you know, just very nice, soft touch leather all across, even on the doors. This being a cloth stroke leather, then the doors as well, you have a cloth padding going on, which is dope. You can also get this bit with a wood finish in case you're buying this car with a different trim. And also a panoramic sunroof is also an option. So you can buy an S-Line with a pano, or you can get one that doesn't have, okay? But let's come down back here. So driving options. So you have few driving options that are selected through this knob here. So you can get comfort, you can get auto, which the car dictates itself how it wants to drive, best with the condition. And then you can also get dynamic and efficiency if you want to save fuel. Dynamic is the sportiest if you want to aggressively nyama those guys who have the T-Cross or the vessels with the DCT, because this is a proper DCT. So, yeah. Now, down here you have the DCT itself, the dual clutch transmission, which Audi calls S-tronic, and I've told you all about that at the front. But you get your traditional normal Audi cluster with analog gauges and an analog speedometer. Na hapa katika tuko na digital display which can give you things like fuel economy and those other parameters that you need to use. This car has a park assist, which is here, and then you also have parking sensors mbele na nyuma, which comes with park assist, by the way. Then you have hill descent because it's a proper SUV, so you need to descend the hills. Then you have your auto start stop technology to save fuel. Hapo tuko sawa. I believe you're good. The only thing that I hate about this car is the fact that now you have an electronic parking brakes, unlike the Scudo, which has that thing. Okay, then you have your outer hold as well, located here, and your 12-volt socket in case you want to charge extra phones, because this car doesn't have a proper USB port. It has the old school Audi setup that is right here, and you need to buy the adapter cable that gives you the USB port now. But the newer ones from 2019, you get USB ports. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Unlike the T-Cross, which is relatively a sister of this car, you know, you get electronic seats both on the driver and passenger. That is very important. The only thing you don't get is memory. But electronically, yeah, you can do this. But for VW, lazima uvunje mkono, especially for the passenger. And that is something that VW has been doing, even though this is technically the same company. But they make this car slightly premium and sporty, and then they try and cheapen out the VW variants like the T-Cross. You also get a malfunctional steering wheel with an S-line badging. And the S-line badging is on the seats as well. Just remind you that you're slightly different from a guy who's buying a basic Q3, right? This is malfunctional, then you have options here for volume, you know, next and all that, and then your options to display whatever is happening here. And then it's also telescopic and tilt. So you can pull it towards you, then you can tilt it down and up. Perfecto! Let's drive this car and see exactly, does this car set itself apart when it comes to driving? Because I believe the place that this Q3 wins over against all the competition is when it comes to driving, and not only driving on the road, even adventure driving as well, even though I must agree that it's not as hardy as the Japanese counterpart, the Scudo, yeah, but it is as hardy and extremely better when it comes to performance and off-road handling than the GLA, the XC40 and the X1. Absolutely way better. Let's drive this car. When it comes to driving, there is no absolute doubt with what Audi were trying to do with the Q3, especially this one. The 2-liter turbocharged petrol engine is straightforward to having a sporty drive. And that is what defines this car as a character. And pairing that engine to a 7-speed wet clutch dual transmission is where the magic is. So the differentiating factor, if you are planning to buy all those other subcompact SUVs, and this one is in the ability to do that. You know, just pull yourself out of the way and just, you know, enjoy your drive. But on the flip side, there are a few things that I'm also appreciating and enjoying about this car. One thing I need to know is this car has a very stiff, come on, that disc is just so it has a stiff design. Like the setup of this car is quite stiff, and that stiffness translates to how this car actually feels. So it's very comfortable, very comfortable. So the movement or how the car feels when you're driving, the jumpy aspect of it is not there when you're driving this car. It's planted to the ground because, again, you need that proper handling. So it's a stiff chassis, handles the potholes well, handles the road imperfections well, and even the corners, you know, plays the small, compact SUV. So checkers iko fiti sana. And then to marinate all that, again, ongeza pale your Quattro all-wheel drive, which has a Haldex system, meaning there is more power being sent to the front than what you get at the rear, and that is down to fuel economy. So anytime you prioritize front-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive, it means not only are you going for a sporty feel when you're making this car, but you're also considering fuel economy when you're driving this car. So these are very phenomenal car. But when it comes to power, we have to create a distinct here, as I told you earlier. So this is a different type or a different code on the engine that is called KUB or KU. So when it comes to power configuration and output, as I told you earlier, the engine code on these is CULB, meaning you get 180 HP and 320 Newton meters of torque. However, if you buy the other variant, which is CPA something, you can be able to get around 212 HP and 350 Newton meters of torque. So it's down to how you enjoy it. Yes. So 0 to 100, this is a sub 8 seconds type of car, and that being packaged on a subcompact SUV. I believe, I don't know, I'll have to get the XC40, I'll have to get the GLA, I'll have to get, what else have I forgotten? I have to get anything else, even the X1. I don't know. I tend to think that this is the sportiest, the most interesting one to drive in terms of power output and handling. And it makes it more interesting because you can also get an RS version on this car, which comes with a 5-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, the same engine you'll get on the TTRS, which is bananas and dope. So I believe Audi were actually going for a sporty feel. They knew there's a group of young people, young owners, young enthusiasts who will want a subcompact SUV and get all the benefits of ground clearance, practicality, and having a family-oriented setup in the interior. But at the same time, they were looking for something more, something extra, a performer, a car that will take for your trips and enjoy the drive, you know, and that is the package that you get on the Q3. I tend to know, and that is the package you get on the Q3. The next generation of the Q3 is more interesting because there's a lot that has been done in the interior, the exterior, to just make it now a perfect family semi-luxury subcompact SUV. And I know you're asking, so how does it feel in terms of the cabin feel, the cabin space, the cabin noise? Yeah, it's a superb car. The seats are very comfortable. They tuck you in. I'm sitting on a high commanding position, just like what you'll expect when you're buying a subcompact SUV or an SUV. And the sound cushioning is dope. I am not hearing any noises from the outside. Oh, they're there, but not the same that you'll get if you're buying the Scudo, if that is something to compare with. So the build quality is awesome. It's phenomenal, fantastic. Even the visibility, I have a very good room in terms of visibility, and that makes this car quite easy to maneuver. But the big question is, how does it stack up in terms of value for money? How does it compare to the competition? Here we are talking about the Vezels, we're talking about the Scudo, we are talking about the GLAs, we are talking about the X1, we are talking about all those subcompact SUVs. And I will not want to waste a lot of time here. Let's get down to business. Does it really fit in for anybody who is looking to spend anything between 3 mic and 3.5? And does it offer the absolute value for money? Let's discuss that. One thing that I can't lift my eyes off when you look at this car is the fact that Audi decided to do a bit of dechroming, and they gave you a bronze metallic finish on this car, like this bit here, which makes this car look nice. Yeah, but there's chrome here. Let's talk about value for money. So how much will this car set you back? This car will set you back 3.4 million Kenya shillings if you choose to buy it from KDG Imports, Palengong Road, opposite Prestige. If you talk to a guy called Ibra. You guys were here when we did the review of the CX-30. Bado pia iko KDG Imports in case you want to buy one. And that car was setting us back 3.4 million Kenya shillings. The Vezel will set you back 2.7 million Kenya shillings. The Scudo will set you back 2.7 million Kenya shillings. The T-Cross will set you back 3 million Kenya shillings. The GLA will set you back upwards of 4 million Kenya shillings. The XC40, 3.4, 3.6, depending with where you're buying it and whether you've decided to ship it through us, okay? Now, value for money, absolutely, 100 solid %. This car is an absolute value for money, considering those other cars sit in that category. And this, if you look at the European side, this might be the most ideal, affordable, powerful, premium, sports, subcompact SUV that you can buy with your money. Because if you guys are willing to buy the CX-30 and you guys have bought them at 3.4 million Kenya shillings, this is you deciding to be sophisticated. This is deciding to go a bit on the European side and have more a driver-focused car for you and your family. I've been your host, Papa Scoff himself, Ibrahim Toloi. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and give me a comment. tell me which other car do you want to see on the next video. Stay put because Kanisa, Sunday, yeah, things are getting a bit hotter. Bye bye. See you on the next one.